Grand Junction, Colorado, February 2021, 19-year-old Brian Cohee Jr. committed a brutal crime so horrific and ruthless that the presiding judge sentenced him to life in prison.
And I pull the sheets back, I get on him, and then and he wakes up. He's, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Get off me!"
The victim, 69-year-old Warren Barnes, was known locally as the Reading Man. A homeless individual who found solace under a bridge, Warren was often seen engrossed in paperbacks or helping store owners with odd jobs. Sadly, his severed head sits in Brian Cohee's closet. Now let's talk about Brian Cohee Jr. Coming from a family that included parents Brian Sr. and Terry, he had a troubled past marked by mental health issues. Brian himself reported suffering from major depressive disorder and Asperger's syndrome, and he had a disturbing fascination with death and morbidity. He was widely known for his questionable, dark sense of humor. He would often say things or make jokes that were extremely inappropriate. On February 27, 2021, after a family movie night where they watched 1984, Brian stepped out into the night, armed with a kitchen knife and dressed in his blue jumpsuit he used for last year's Halloween. It was in the darkness near the Grand Avenue footbridge that he came across Warren, who was sleeping under a canvas.
He was saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Why? Ah!" And I said, "I've been wanting to do this for a long time, murder someone." The whole ordeal lasted about a minute and a half. Is it okay if I do it on the street?
Oh, yeah.
This is him. I was straddled on top of him like this.
Okay.
And he couldn't fight back. It was actually surprisingly easy. I was barely breaking a sweat. I thought, oh, this guy, he's going to be tough. But no, it was actually surprisingly easy. And during the time I was growling and making animalistic noises.
He placed some of the body parts into a plastic bag and transported them to his bedroom closet. To dispose of the remains, Brian attempted to hide what remained of Warren's body in a river. But while unloading the evidence, his car became stuck and slid into the river with him in it. Seeking help, he was able to flag down an acquaintance to use their phone to call his parents. Police arrived at the scene and were bewildered at how his car managed to get into the river. After several phone calls to get a tow truck, his parents drop Brian off at home and go back to the scene. Police notice blood smeared on the bumper. Raising suspicions, his parents make a phone call to Brian. Brian acts completely confused as to what it was, and the issue is dropped.
It's right here.
Oh, you see it?
Yeah. Because there's an arm.
Oh, shit!
Hey.
There's an arm.
Good search ever.
There's an arm, there's another arm.
Okay, hold on. Do some pictures. Starting right now.
There's another one.
Right, here's a leg. That could be the upper arm or a leg.
Well, there's three. There, and there.
Pieces down there, I mean.
A patrol guide to yellow tape it and then hold it, because the potential is that there's a secondary by the boat launch.
Yeah, I would think so.
Well, we can
if
run
you
out
want to
there
go,
and look at that, and then if you guys, we can just ask for a...
I'm switching to primary, hold on.
But if we can get the lab out here, that would be the best thing.
yeah, get forensics out here. Yeah. Yeah.
The following day, on March 1st, 2021, Brian's parents made a horrific discovery. While cleaning his room, his mom, Terry, stumbled upon a severed head and dismembered body parts hidden in a container in the closet. She found it heavy and teeming with maggots. Terrified, she immediately called for help. When police arrived and interviewed Brian, the unsettling footage captured during their interaction quickly became infamous. Brian was eerily calm and showed no emotion when police confirmed his parents' reports. The officer put him in her patrol car and didn't even handcuff him because he was not a threat. Ironically, Brian turned out to be one of the most cold-blooded murderers this town has ever seen. During a pivotal police interview, one officer asked Brian, "Your parents have concerns about some stuff they may have found in your room?"
Parents have some concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room?
Yeah, I believe so.
And what would it be?
A human head and hands.
Do you have anything on you that's gonna cut, poke, hurt, stick me anything without reaching for nothing? Don't reach for nothing.
My phone and my wallet, that's
okay.
it.
Well, I'm gonna have you face that way, put your hands on top of your head for me real quick. I just wanna make sure you interlace your fingers for me real quick, all right?
When pressed further about how he ended up with the remains, Brian confessed, "I murdered him." And when asked what he used, he simply responded, "A knife." The officer inquired about the reasoning behind the murder. Brian's unsettling admission was, "I always wondered what murder would feel like." Brian was giddy with excitement telling his story. Smiling, he showed absolutely no remorse and seemed proud of his accomplishment. During questioning, Brian elaborated on the events of that night. He described it vividly, stating, "It was the night of February 27th. It was a full moon, and I figured I could see so well. Why not try it out? I was in a bad state of mind at that time. I have major depressive disorder." He recounted spotting Warren on the railway track, saying, "I grabbed my knife, put on 3 layers of gloves because plastic gloves can betray their users, and then I stabbed his neck." Brian described Warren's panic as he repeatedly asked, "What are you doing? Why?" In a shocking twist, Brian admitted he was making animalistic noises while committing the act. Brian stabbed Warren multiple times in the neck and stated that once he was done, his head was already halfway off his body. Brian continued to decapitate Warren's head, cut one arm off and several other body parts. He even laughed as he recounted dismembering Warren before awkwardly saying, "Sorry, that's morbid." He confessed, "I've been wanting to do this for a long time." Brian explains that he cut Warren's belly open just to see his guts. He then proceeded to toss the severed body parts in different directions, but not before putting Warren's head in an old pizza box and his severed hands in the trunk. Brian took Warren's wallet and put the knife in the glove box, headed home to store the parts, then left to dump his torso in the river. That brings us to the scene where his car slid into the river and he made several mistakes. Unlike Dahmer or Ted Bundy, whom he idolized, Brian forgot to hide all the evidence in the heat of the moment. His parents grew very suspicious when his father found Warren's wallet and a large knife in the glove box. Once his father reported the wallet found, he questioned Brian. This is what led his mother to investigate in his room while Brian was at a friend's house. Charged with first-degree murder and tampering with a deceased human body, Brian's case quickly garnered attention. Right after his arrest, his defense team sought to move the case to juvenile court. But the district attorney noted that the juvenile court had no jurisdiction in this matter since Brian had turned 18. In September 2021, crucial details emerged during a court hearing. Officer Thomas Stuckenschneider testified about discovering parts of Warren's remains wrapped in plastic bags during a search of the Cohee household. He noted finding a blue jumpsuit in the dryer, suspected to belong to Brian on the night of the murder. In January 2023, Brian went to trial, lasting 12 days. His defense claimed he was insane during the act, but in Colorado, to be found legally insane, one must be unable to distinguish right from wrong due to mental illness. Dr. Craig Gustafson, who had treated Brian for depression since 2018, testified that Brian had no signs of psychosis before the murder. In fact, the doctor had seen no abnormalities during a CAT scan that he ordered due to Brian's complaints of headaches. Counselor B. Phillips, who met with Brian multiple times, revealed troubling insights into his mindset. Brian referred to trans individuals as "it" and questioned the morality of causing harm to others. She confirmed he demonstrated an understanding of right and wrong during their sessions. Witnesses, including a co-worker from Brian's workplace Safeway, testified that in the months leading up to the murder, Brian became more vocal about his feelings, including feelings of being friendless and disconnected. Forensic psychologist Dr. Serrano Amerigo testified about Brian's state of mind during questioning, affirming he showed no signs of mental distress or psychosis. She also answered a juror's question about the nature of homicidal thoughts, stating that such thoughts don't automatically indicate insanity. During the trial, disturbing parts of an assessment were read aloud, revealing Brian harbored impulses of violence from a young age. He stated, "When I would see a person, the first thing in my mind would be to picture them being shot or stabbed." Forensic video analyst Jordan Huslig revealed significant findings from Warren's phone history on the night of the murder. He discovered that Warren had made a call to an unknown number around 7 p.m., interacted with a job app called People Ready Job Stack, and played what appeared to be a mobile poker game. Additionally, Brian's web search history went back months and months on ways to kill someone. As the trial progressed, jurors were shown graphic images from the crime scene, leading to visible discomfort among the jury. One defense attorney raised concerns about a juror's mental state after witnessing one juror break down in tears and turn away from the images. However, Judge Richard Gurley overruled the objection, acknowledging that it was understandable to look away given the gruesome content. Brian's parents took the stand next. Terry shared that her son has autism, ADHD, and anxiety, along with having been on medication since he was 5. She suggested that his autism contributed to his intense fixations. In later months, Terry found a black backpack belonging to Brian that contained disturbing items like zip ties, a hammer, duct tape, and pliers. She spoke of his remarkable intellect, recounting how Brian was fascinated by astrophysics in his youth, a passion that eventually morphed into an interest in crime scene investigation after watching The Silence of the Lambs. Terry noted that the day after the murder, Brian seemed lighter than in the months prior. She questioned him about blood found on the trunk of his car, to which he casually claimed it was theatrical blood. Brian's father recalled the night of the murder, including their movie viewing of 1984. He reiterated Brian Jr.'s explanation about the blood, attributing it to a cut on his finger. One of the final witnesses was Dr. Paul Sprague, who performed a sanity evaluation on Brian. He argued that while it might appear Brian plotted the murder, it seemed more likely he was indulging his obsession with crime rather than premeditating such an act. After a 2-day deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict on February 3, 2023. Brian was found guilty of first-degree murder, tampering with a deceased human body, and tampering with evidence. Strikingly, Brian showed no emotion as the verdict was read. Trish Mari, Assistant District Attorney, expressed the gravity of the situation. Warren Barnes lost his life in the most violent of ways. His friends, family, and community suffer his loss. This outcome demonstrates the checks and balances within the criminal justice system. Justice prevailed when the jury rendered guilty verdicts, holding the defendant accountable for his horrendous crimes. As the proceedings closed, Terry made a heartfelt statement. "I would just like to express our family's deep and sincere sympathies to the community and family of Mr. Barnes. His absence is felt profoundly, as Monique Lanati, the owner of a nearby bridal shop, shared. He was valued, he was loved, he is missed every single day." Geraldine Shipp, one of Warren's siblings, spoke about the haunting memories of her brother's tragic end. Just a day after he wished her a happy birthday, he was brutally murdered. Geraldine described Warren as a man of honor, a man of integrity, cherished by both his family and community. Brian Cohee Jr. was an extremely disturbed young man with a morbid fascination. His lack of remorse is perhaps the most troubling. What are your thoughts on today's story? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you want more true crime stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe.